Good afternoon, Keith Tebow, FRC Media. Thank you for joining us today. We're in the midst of an election season, and we have reached out to all the candidates on the ballot on November 3rd to speak with them for a few moments about their candidacy. And we're talking to all the candidates, even those who are not challenged this November election. We're pleased to be joined by one of those candidates, State Representative Carole Fiola from the 6th Bristol District. Representative, how are you? Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Keith. Nice to be here with you and your viewers.
You we were talking before we started that you were first installed as a state representative after a special election in 2013.
Yep.
Let me ask you, does it seem like it's been 7 years?
Sometimes it seems longer, and sometimes it seems like it was yesterday, Keith. I love every minute of it. I love every day. Every day is different. Every day is challenging in different ways. But 7 years last week, and that I was sworn in. And it's been, as I've said many times, it's the most rewarding professional opportunity I've ever had. What a privilege. What a privilege.
So let me ask you, how do you feel you've evolved over the 7 years? Obviously, when you're first in, you're a freshman, you're learning the ropes, and you were probably a freshman for almost 3 years, right? Because the following year you had to run again after that special election. So I guess, what have you learned over the years, and how have you evolved as a legislator?
Well, first of all, you're right. When you first get in, you know how it works because you read about it and you talk to people. But like any job you do, it's very different once you get in. Very challenging because you've got to, first of all, meet everyone that you're going to be working with. Then you've got new committees you're working on. You're working with new systems. You're working with a building full of people, some with a great deal of experience, some with very little, those that have experience in very specific areas. And you learn to get to know those people. And like every career, it's about working well with your peers and your colleagues. And that is one thing that I think over the time that I've been there, I've been very fortunate to establish some great working relationships with colleagues from all over the state, because while everyone in the viewer audience knows my colleagues in the House in Fall River, Rep. Schmidt and Sylvia, and of course in the surrounding areas, we have, Somerset, Swansea, we have Rep. Haddad, Speaker Pro Tem Haddad, and Rep. Howitt, and then we have the New Bedford and Dartmouth delegations. We work very well together, but you also have to work with your colleagues from throughout the state. And so you spend the first few years really getting to know them, and then new ones come on with elections. But what an experience. It does evolve because you sit on committees. And one of the things I will tell you, Keith, is one of the first committees I served on was the Mental Health and Substance Use Disorder Committee. And that is when, back in 2013-14, when the opioid crisis was really evolving, and we were really understanding what it was doing to our communities and what it was doing to families. And then the fentanyl crisis that came along with it, that was killing our members of our society. So I was able to have a front row seat. And by that, I mean, you're able to, in our hearings, we bring in experts, not only local, regional, national experts who give us some insights that we would never have if we didn't listen to them. And so that then gave me an opportunity to bring that knowledge or that enlightenment, if you will, back here to the community and work with all the stakeholder groups. That's just one example, but you really get a front row seat to understand issues. And there are hundreds of them, and there are thousands of bills. But when you're on a committee, you get close to the ones that are in your committee, and it has been a valuable experience. And so have I evolved? Yes. I believe I even bring more to the table today because of those contacts, and both in the House and in the administration.
One of the things that is important to note here in Massachusetts is, There's always a lot of talk about gridlock, particularly in Washington, with the polarization between the Republican and Democratic parties. We don't hear that in Massachusetts. It appears to be a very good working relationship. I mean, there are disagreements on issues and bills, of course, but not to the level of acrimony we're hearing nationwide. And of course, the legislature also has had a good working relationship with Governor Baker. So that's all gotta help in playing through all this, right?
Absolutely. I think we see divisiveness at an all-time high right now. Either you're with me or against me in terms of the polarization on well, let's be honest, on the presidential election in particular, and of course with all the issues that have come along with it. But in the House and the Senate, in the building, with our administration, the three branches, the three groups that work together daily, we have had an excellent working relationship. You hit it right on. We do not always agree. We do not agree on bills. We do not agree on everything. But the way we come about it, the process that we have come up with here in Massachusetts, in the House, in the Senate, the Baker-Polito administration that I'm serving with right now, they get it. We all get it that you don't get things by and I don't mean fighting. Fighting can be a good word, and it is a good word. And sometimes I say I'm a fighter, but you don't get it by being nasty, divisive, and mean. You get it by bringing up your points, following the process, staying with it, sticking with it, not giving up. And I think that's what we do very well. And we have a very collegial relationship. And we never insult, we never stoop to those levels. I'm very proud to be a part of this group, and we get things done. In Massachusetts, whenever we've gone to conferences, and of course this is all pre-COVID, we are always looked at as a leader on issues in the state, in the country.
Yeah. So let me ask you, over the first 7 years as being a state representative, do you have one or two items that either a bill you sponsored or initiative you were part of that you've been particularly proud of?
Well, yeah, Keith, I think probably one of the most important things is ensuring that we've seen millions more in dollars coming to Fall River. And that is because we have a coordinated effort. We don't give up. We bring money. We've locked in the money for South Coast Rail. People right now, if they drive down North Main Street, they'll see, and they've been asking a lot about that. What's going on North Main Street? Trees are being cleared. There's a lot of construction going on, because that is the fruit of all of our work, the people before me and while I've been here. This has been one of the most important projects that we have worked on. And so the other project that I've worked on very hard, and we're seeing that begin to come to fruition, and this has been a main project of mine, the Route 79 North project, because that is going to lower the rest of those boulevards. We're going to have access across Duval Street, Route 79, right to the waterfront. We saw the first stage of that went from the Braga Bridge to the Cove, and now we're going to see from the Cove restaurant north to the old Brightman Street Bridge. We're going to see a lot of work there. It's about a $60 million project. So those are two things that I can say amongst many that I feel very proud to have continued to help shepherd along. Because let me make it clear that without a consistent voice or voices pushing in the same direction for a project, it's very easy for an administration who ultimately ends up pulling those strings to say, you really don't want it. Nobody's bugged me about this. You're not advocating strongly enough. So we'll move on to the next city or town. And there's a lot of need around our Commonwealth. And so that's something. Another thing I point to, and while we're on a little bit of a hold right now because of COVID, is the Student Opportunity Act. Now, that is not me, that is us. And that has been something to see come to fruition in the budgeting for that Student Opportunity Act. And of course, this was the year, so it's going to be like the second year of big funding, in particular to Fall River, gateway communities like Fall River. And while we're okay right now, we're not going to quite see that influx of dollars. We're level funded, which is another thing we were able to do during the pandemic. But the Student Opportunity Act was a result of many, many years of input, right here from our school committee, from our union representatives, our delegation working together to bring that message to Beacon Hill so that while the conversations are going on, we had a front row seat at that table. And one of the things I was able to do was bring the chair of the education committee to Fall River, coordinated a meeting with our school committee and superintendent and stakeholders and our union officials to make sure that the leadership on this issue from Beacon Hill heard directly from our people. So they knew what was at stake, why we needed these dollars, why we continue to need these dollars, and why we ultimately passed this bill. And we'll continue to fund this. We're going to get through a little bit right now. We're in the thick of things with the budget and the COVID. We will get back on track for sure.
One of the things that is sometimes a lot of people may not know who vote for you or expect some service as a state representative is the constituent services. I know we talked about this when COVID started. We did an interview about how COVID has been impacting our community. And you were saying at that time, the phone was ringing off the hook, people looking for answers. And, talk a little bit about how you've been able to meet that demand of meeting the needs of your constituents.
So, Keith, we do a number of things in the legislature. We pass bills, we pass a budget, and we do constituent work. And for me, that constituent work is number one. If you were going to ask me to rank them, I mean, they're all important, of course, but people's, bureaucracy can be very difficult to navigate. We see that all the time, whether it's the registry of motor vehicles, the unemployment office, Social Security, dealing with that with our partners in the federal government, housing issues, food security issues. We field calls every day, and we are able to put people together with the right people to get them answers. We get them answers. We do this every day, and I like to pride myself and my team. I give great credit to my team that they know it's a priority. And how do I know that? We get thank you notes. Now, are we looking for thank you notes? Absolutely not. That's what you elected me to do, to be as helpful and to serve you, because I am the representative for the 6th Bristol District. But let me tell you, constituent service, every single constituent, every single resident of my district gets exactly the same treatment. They get a call back, we find out what they're looking for, and we try to help them, period. And we have a pretty good track record on that. And for me, that's a great honor, because it is very difficult. Today, I just got a call from someone, their spouse passed away. They have to get the title of the car transferred over to them. You're in your 70s or 80s. I mean, this is confusing. It's not confusing because you're 70 or 80, but it's just confusing, period. And it's just navigating that, making sure they get delivered the right paperwork, that we get them an appointment. And this is replicated all day, every day. And all of my colleagues, I do know, do a great job with this. And so it hasn't eased up because things have shifted. Things have shifted. People are, I think we're going to see some issues where we went away from the unemployment just temporarily, and the PPE, not the PPE, the pandemic unemployment assistance. And now some people are not getting hired back, and we've got to try to help them. And that's what we're doing every day.
Let me ask you finally, COVID aside, when I know it's difficult because that's what we're facing right now, but what plans do you have in terms of maybe some new initiatives moving forward for the next couple of years as state representative?
So as I told you earlier, constituent service will always be number one for me, but seeing the fruition of Route 79 and the train are important. Ensuring, I've worked very closely on many funding sources to ensure that our waterfront, we talk about the city pier. There's some things going on the state pier. There's a lot of projects that are going to make a big difference in the city of Fall River. So those are some of my priorities in the district, working with my colleagues and the local officials in Assonet, which I represent a precinct there, making sure that their needs are always met. There's a lot of cutting through the tape that they need with grants and other another items that we work closely on, and the industrial park partners, ensuring we have exit 8 and on the highway, and we know that's a dangerous intersection, and I am working on that all the time to short and long-term plans, because when you're spending 60, 70, 80 million dollars on plans, they take time to set the stage, right? And so we're working on some short-term plans right now for Exit 8 and Route 24. Just those are the kind of projects that we have to keep pushing every day to ensure they become a reality. Making sure we get our share. Gateway communities have come a long way in the last 7 years. We have a coalition of legislators, so continuing to work with them to be sure that we as gateway cities are getting our fair share. At the same time, Keith, people listening or watching would say, we've always said, oh, we don't get our piece. Fall River, we don't always get what we should. And I can tell you that has changed, and that's changed for a myriad of reasons. And I am proud to serve with the delegation I do, to serve with Governor Baker and Lieutenant Governor Polito, who are partners with us and understand and care deeply. So we'll keep working. There's a lot to do. And I also look forward to hearing from my constituents. I do that all the time, reaching out. Matter of fact, I have a coffee and conversation COVID style tomorrow outdoors, outside my office at 441 North Main Street. And we're going to continue bringing those back, because that's where I hear from people what their concerns and issues are. So I invite anybody listening and watching to know that I am here. I'm also going to be doing a WSAR radio show. Rep. Sylvia and I are going to switch off on Mondays. I have one this afternoon, and I'm bringing on Gene Fox, because we've been asking about what's going on North Main Street, and we want to fill them in on what's happening. So we got a lot to do, and I am honored and privileged, and I do hope, and I will ask for the continued support, and of course, a vote from the voters of the 6th Bristol District.
State Representative Carole Fiola, thank you for joining us as always. All the best, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.
Goodbye. Have a great one.
All right. And thank you for joining us today on FRC Media. Have a great day.